Namaskar, Jai Hind. If episode 16 10 to 2020, and then the let's today move to economics of or maybe border economics. The India-Bhutan border is, as we know, not simply a ditch. The India-Bhutan trade, commerce and vision, I think in 2016, the broader bilateral framework, it also provides for free trade regime and commerce between the two countries. So this border simultaneously performs three functions. One is security, which is evident for any border, commerce, and people-to-people connectivity, which is more important at present in contemporary times in the Indo-Bhutan border. If we go from section to section of this border, okay, let me check the network connection. It says the connection is actually slow, so let me do with the connection if I can make it better. Okay, I'm trying my best to make it better. Sorry. Yeah, let's move to the Arunachal section of this border. The Bhutan border here is around 217 kilometers, but this is not a major commercial corridor. Here the terrain is very mountainous, very difficult. The Tawang sector, it contains very high altitude terrain, deep valleys even, and difficult road access. There are various local and traditional routes and even security posts, but there is no major international commercial crossing like comparable to the Assam frontier, like that, or maybe West Bengal frontier. So the character of this sector of Indo Bhutan border along Arunachal Pradesh, it's primarily strategic and security oriented. The mountain, it actually provides a natural barrier for the trade. So there is not much trade happening except some traditional or ceremonious trade. On the other hand, in Assam, it is the most important both security and trade corridor. Assam has the longest portion of India-Bhutan boundary. It's approximately 267 kilometers. And this sector, it has historically been much more important even for insurgency because of relatively accessible terrain and proximity to the Bodo areas, which were actually really volatile areas during 1990s and 2000s. This area also it becoming increasingly important for trade and connectivity. The principal trade gateways were later three trade gateways, but the principal gateways are in Assam. It's around this Daranga Mela corridor, or in Bhutan side it's Sandrup Zonkar. That is Jankar and Daranga corridor. This is also very important trade corridor. Also Hatisar in Dadgiri area, it also connects with Gelepu and Kamardiwa, also known as Rangavani, collecting towards Naganglam. It's in Bhutan through Kokrajhar. These three are very important points, and there are also other local and custom routes, including routes that have been like varying levels of activity over time. We should not describe Assam as simply having 2+1 crossing corridors. The number actually depends whenever we are taking into major commercial gateways. We have major gateways here. We have land customs stations, immigration points, even border authorized entry and exit routes. Doronga Daranga is particularly more important. In November 2024, the immigration checkpost at Daranga was inaugurated for the entry and exit of even third country nationals by land. So India, Bhutan are working even to improve connectivity between Assam and Bhutan. So even the proposed Kokrajhar Gelepu railway link is particularly significant here, and work is going on for this Kokrajhar Gelepu railway line, railway line towards Bhutan. So Assam is actually moving from being remembered primarily as insurgency frontier to becoming an increasingly connectivity frontier, particularly in international sector with Bhutan. Moving ahead with West Bengal sector, this is where the most famous India-Bhutan border crossing is located. Jaigao, here the Indian side is Jaigao, and Phungcholing, it's called Phungcholing on the Bhutanese side, very famous area. This is the principal commercial gateway between India and Bhutan. Uh, if you actually imagine Bhutan's southern economic gateway, Phungcheling is the heart of it. Phungcheling is the heart of Bhutan's or southern Bhutan's economic gateway. On the Indian side, here the Jaigao is the major border town. The road through Jaigao and Phungchilong, it carries various enormous commercial importance. But there are several other customs and trade points also on around the West Bengal sector. This can be like Birpara, Gomtu sector, Nagarkata, GT sector, Luksan, Bhimtar sector, and lot more. There are around 6-7 other corridors except this Phungcheling corridor. So rather than we memorize it as like 6-7 corridor, we can just understand the structure of it. Like Zaigao Phungching corridor is it's the primary dominant trade gateway. Around it there is a network of secondary customs and trade routes serving different part of southern Bhutan. And this network is actually expanding as India and Bhutan is going through, and the trade between both the countries are in a evolutionary form at present time as it is evolving, as the trade is evolving. Moving towards Sikkim, it's a very short border, just 32 kilometers, but it has huge importance. Strategically, the tiny stretch of 32 kilometers is extremely important for particularly for India. Sorry, because this is the western end of Bhutan border, and this area is closest to Doklam Plateau and this India Bhutan China strategic triangle. There is no major commercial trade corridor comparable to Phungcheling and etc. here in West Bengal or Daranga in Assam. There is no major trade corridor through Sikkim. Instead, the significance here is overwhelmingly the strategic position. The strategic position of India, Bhutan, even that of China, the junction, it comes more strategic here than commercial positions. Military deployment, surveillance, road logistics, and availability to monitor the surrounding high altitude terrain, it become much more important than commercial traffic. So here this sector of land is a classic example of border where length of boundary it tells you almost nothing. It tells nothing about strategic importance, even though the length is very less, just 32 kilometers, but strategic importance is more high. 32 kilometers can sometimes matter more than hundreds of kilometers elsewhere in this border or in any other border. So this is very important section. This 32 kilometer is from strategic and military point of view, this 32 kilometer is most important sector of Indo-Bhutan border along the Sikkim line. If we now move ahead and zoom into India-Bhutan military cooperation. It's one of the strongest pillars of the relationship between India and Bhutan. Both countries have they are exceptionally close in terms of defense and security cooperation for decades. One of the most important institution is the Indian Military Training Center, often known as IMTRAT in Bhutan. Here, Indian military personnel have long-standing role in training Bhutanese security forces and helping Bhutan to build its defense capabilities. There are also various long-running role of projects like Dantak in infrastructure and road development. Dantak is that of BRO, that is Border Development or Border Roads Organization of Ministry of Defense. And both the armies they maintain very professional exchanges and military to military context. So this relationship is very important because Bhutan is a very small country with a very challenging Himalayan geography, and India actually benefits from having a stable and friendly neighbor on its northern flank. Bhutan is very stable. I'm saying in political terms, not like not like all the other neighbors of ours, that we have very beautiful neighbors. Now we have very cooperative neighbors, but here if Bhutan is not it's not comparable to our other neighbors of ours, because Bhutan is politically really very stable. So this is not just about a military relationship, it's really a long-term strategic partnership. There was a treaty, the 2007 Friendship Treaty is the legal foundation of modern relationship of India-Bhutan friendship. It's called India-Bhutan Friendship Treaty of 2007. It replaced the 1949 Friendship Treaty network framework. This treaty reflects Bhutan's sovereignty and independence while preserving close cooperation with India. It actually says that these two governments, Bhutan and India governments, both will cooperate closely on various issues concerning their national interest. It also says that neither of the countries will allow its territory to be used for activities harmful to the national security of each other. And this treaty provides for free trade and commerce between two countries. There is FMR, that is free movement regions, and free trade agreements also. So the modern Indo-Bhutan relationship is based on something, it's quite sophisticated. It's to respect Bhutanese sovereignty combined with very deep security cooperation. This is very important distinction, right? We have to respect sovereignty of each other and even to have deep security cooperation. India's relationship with Bhutan, it's just not a traditional security arrangement. It has evolved into a partnership based on mutual strategic interest. both these both the countries respect each other sovereignty. India as the biggest and most powerful country never like threaten Bhutan or never put any pressure on Bhutan in terms of its sovereignty. So these all lead to a very peaceful border of Indo-Bhutan border of today. This border is relatively very peaceful than other Indian borders. There are several reasons for that. First of all, the insurgent sanctuary problem, which was during 80s, 90s, even in 2000s, was decisively addressed by Indian security forces as well as Bhutan's security forces, particularly through Bhutan's Operation All Clear. Secondly, India's counter-insurgency campaign, it actually weakened organizations such as ULFA and disbanded organizations like NDF, BBLT, etc. Sorry. Third, the political settlement of this Bodo issue in Bodoland part of Assam, particularly the 2020 Bodo Peace Accord. It removed much of political foundations of armed forces, armed struggles like NDFB insurgency or Bodo insurgency. Further, the intelligence and security coordination between India and Bhutan, it actually improved and improving day by day, and it has a lot more to do with the overall relation between India and Bhutan. Further, if we go, the border infrastructure, particularly done by BRO, that is Border Road Organization, and even after that, using such infrastructure, the formal trade mechanism as it expanded due to such road, it's really a big deal. And lastly, we can say that these two countries has developed a high degree of political trust. We as Indians have very much trust in the Bhutan's political systems, in Bhutan's constitutional monarchy or parliamentary monarchy. We do have very much trust in that, and this result is fascinating. Here comes a border that once had a serious insurgency and insurgent sanctuary problem, and now it has become one of the India's most peaceful international borders. Maybe it is the most peaceful border at present time, but this peace doesn't mean strategically unimportant. This is quite the opposite. The security problem has actually changed. It changed from insurgency to geopolitics. This is perhaps the central argument of today's lecture. Here, the India-Bhutan border had passed through three distinct security areas. We have already learned about that. Number one is that insurgent sanctuary eras from roughly 1990s to Operation All Clear in 2003 and 2004. The major concern here was this ULFA, NDAB, Kamatapur Liberation Army, that is KLO, and other insurgent small and big networks operating from southern Bhutan. But they were removed by Operation All Clear, all totally, and even Operation Rhino and Bajrang had important role during 90s. That was the first phase. In second era, the residual insurgency and political settlement era during 2010s, particularly at that time, the NDAB factions and other military networks who remained a concern for Assam and along this Manas border landscape. The response from Indian forces involving intelligence, policing, security coordination, and political negotiation, particularly, which led to Bodo Peace Accord in 2020. It marked a major turning point, and which actually built the foundation of peace along this border. So here comes the third era, or the strategically very competitive era. This is not about any insurgent group or any insurgent camps inside Bhutan or inside India. It's about China. And the most visible expansion of this new security environment, it's the Doklam in 2017. So this border, even though we say it as a very peaceful border, it has evolved from various stages. In stage 1, the insurgency problem up to 2023-24, then the second insurgent wave, and as the insurgent wave gone, it became relatively peaceful, but we got a strategic problem here in the Sikkim frontier, that is the Doklam frontier. So Bhutan having a unique strategic position as a whole, if we're gonna describe it, this is one final aspect we are going to discuss today, that Bhutan having a very unique strategic position. It's a very small country, right? But its strategic location is very enormous. It's north is China, and south and east and west is India. So Bhutan is kind of a buffer country. Even though it's in hilly area, it's still a buffer country. Bhutan has no diplomatic relations with China. I repeat, Bhutan having historically no official diplomatic relation of China. Although it maintains negotiations and engagement with Beijing, but there is no embassies of each other country. India, on the other hand, has it is exceptionally close diplomatic, economic, and security relations of Bhutan. India having exceptionally close relation. So Bhutan therefore has to balance various things. It has to balance its sovereignty, which has no problem from India, and it has to actually balance its relationship with India, and it has to balance its unresolved boundary relationship with China. Bhutan having really boundary issues with China. So for India, the stability of Bhutan is it's strategically vulnerable. The Bhutan-China border problem and resulting instability, as anytime the border conflict may evolve, or border tension may evolve, this is very vulnerable from India's point of view. For Bhutan, maintaining its sovereignty while preserving its close relationship with India is very important. This is very important because Bhutan may not have that much of strategic problem as India in terms of Doklam. Okay, so Bhutan cannot be weak. In terms of Bhutan's own security problem, Bhutan can be okay with Doklam, whatever going on in Doklam. But with respect to India, Bhutan need to take a stand. Bhutan need to take a stand with India. So that is why this relationship between Bhutan and India is often it's that border security is not simply about fences, it's not simply about patrols and weapons that we have seen in most of other borders like Indo-Bangladesh borders and Indo-Pakistan border. Particularly these two borders, we have seen border security mostly about fences, patrols and weapons. But here we can see that a border has become more secure when political relationship behind the border is secure. We have seen that in Indo-Bhutan border. If we look into evolution again in 1990s, the insurgency it's exploited this geography. Bhutan initially tried negotiations. When negotiation failed, Bhutan conducted the operation all clear. India supported Bhutan. Then India and Bhutan developed deeper security cooperation. Next comes the Bodo issue, which gradually moved towards political settlement. Trade expanded, infrastructure expanded. So people to people movement continued. And finally, when the strategic challenge shifted to China, India and Bhutan again relied heavily on its relationships, on consultations and diplomatic coordination. So sorry. So the India-Bhutan border it demonstrates a very important principle of border security. It says that security is strongest when military cooperation, diplomacy, development, and local connectivity reinforce each other. So, throughout this lecture, I have actually summarized many things. I have been over and over saying about historical evolutions of this border. I have been over and over saying about this 1990s security problem to the mid-second wave and to the Doklam effect. So it may be very boring for you, but this is I am a boring person actually. You may not like my way of expressing, but you must think that there is something knowledge, but there is something that you can actually learn from these lectures. So this threefold history between India Bhutan border, it's very important. And the geography I have mentioned, from the Arunachal sector to the Assam sector to West Bengal sector and finally to the Sikkim sector. So you have to go through this. And today we have moved from security frontier to trade frontiers. We have discussed various trade routes, particularly in Assam and West Bengal. And lastly, the strategic environment and strategic cooperation between India and Bhutan. So if I have to summarize the entire Indo-Bhutan border in one sentence, I would say that this is a border that moved from insurgency to cooperation and from counterinsurgency to strategic vigilance. Here, geography, as it stretches for about 699 kilometers across Arunachal Pradesh, Assam, West Bengal, and Sikkim. It's very difficult terrain, and in every state of India the geography is different. Historically, its most serious security challenge came from insurgent sanctuaries in southern Bhutan, but there is no challenge at present from insurgents' point of view. It is rather peaceful, as Operation Bajrang, Rhino were important from Indian counterinsurgency operations against Ulfa in Assam. Whether, as we have been saying it, Operation All Clear is very important in India-Bhutan relationship. It was a decisive Bhutanese military operation in 2003-4 against insurgent camps inside southern Bhutan. Later, as we know, the Bodo Peace Accord, which subsequently surrenders the second wave and making a major turning point. Next, the 2007 strategic character of this border come into forefront through this Doklam standoff. Doklam here demonstrated that a peaceful India-Bhutan border can still be located in one of the most strategically sensitive part of Asia. And today, this Indo-Bhutan border is not simply a security frontier. It is also a trade corridor, it's a connectivity corridor, it's an economic lifeline for Bhutan. Particularly for Bhutan, this is economic lifeline since Bhutan is landlocked. And it is a strategic buffer and partnership zone for India. From Zaigao to Phungchilong, from Daranga to Sanrup Zongkar, from Gelepu in Assam, from the mountains of Tawangs to the strategic heights near Doklam. This India-Bhutan border actually tells us one of the longest stories of border. That borders are not just static lines on maps, they are not just on paper. They evolve with politics, they evolve with insurgency waves, with diplomacy, with economics and geography. And India-Bhutan border is perhaps one of the best examples of what is evolution in terms of border. So with this I come to the end of National Security Live episode 16. I would like to request everyone kindly to switch into 1.5x if if you watch my National Security Live videos or any live videos, and my lectures is very boring. Meanwhile, I would like to say to our dear learners of all ages, if you like our videos, kindly contribute us with some Guru Dakshina, whatever way you can contribute, maybe through GPay or maybe PhonePe, for the sustenance of this Gyanonymous school channel. Numbers are here, it's screening on your screen. Here I would also like to thank everyone who has contributed us through GPay and PhonePe, and we are grateful to each one of you. Really, we are grateful, and thank you for your generous contribution. So this is National Security Live, episode 16. I'm your host. Thank you for watching Gyanonymous School. If you like our videos, kindly subscribe to our channel and press the bell icon. If you have anything to say regarding this episode, or if you have any questions regarding Indo-Bhutan border or any border, you can please type in the comment box. I will be answering you. And if you want I make a particular video of your interest, then you can please type in the comment box. I will be making such videos. I will be definitely answering you. Also, there is one more thing. If you want a one-to-one conversation with me regarding national security or any subject you want to learn, as you know my niche, and you can book an appointment. It's the link in the comment, the link in the description box, and you can actually book an appointment, and we can have a Google Meet, and we can discuss the issues, anything that you want to discuss with me. So again, thank you for watching Gyanonymous School. Jai Hind, Bande Mataram.